Let's hear a story, India's Heroes. The scene is of a class where a teacher is entering, and let's see what happens in the class. The students fidgeted and shifted in their seats as Mrs. Rita Barua entered. She gave them a few seconds to settle down, but an air of thrill and enthusiasm prevailed. "Let us begin our lesson for today," she addressed an eager class 8. "How many of you are ready with your speeches on what you would like to be when you grow up?" All 40 hands went up in unison. Mrs. Barua beamed. Clearly, this assignment had not been a drudge. That is, it had not been boring. "Wonderful," Mrs. Barua said. "Remember that it does not have to be a profession. You can also speak of someone whom you'd want to be like. Maybe a role model or a mentor. You may even talk of a particular trait or quality that you admire in a person and wish to emulate." A crackle of sheets was heard as students hurriedly arranged the pages on which they had written their assignments. They were eager to speak in front of their classmates. It was Ajit Basu's turn first. He spoke of how he wanted to become the best cricketer in the world. Sachin Tendulkar was his idol. He was followed by Gayatri Chabra, who said that she wanted to be a social worker like her mother, and Sanjay Damle elaborated on the thrill of flying an airplane with the air and clouds on his terrain, that is, on his surrounding area. The class listened in rapt attention as one by one the children spoke about actors, sports stars, politicians, and so on. When Kabir got up to speak, his hand shook slightly and beads of perspiration appeared on his forehead. He was not accustomed to facing the entire class and speaking out aloud. He knew that he did not have a flair for making speeches. However, he had worked hard on his assignment and had written it from the depth of his heart. It was different from the others, as it did not focus on any one person, profession, or quality. It was a combination of traits and people from different walks of life, people who had stirred Kabir's heart, that is, who had touched Kabir's heart. Clearing his throat, he began, "When I grow up, I want to be brave, like Major Sandeep Unnikrishnan, the 31-year-old National Security Guard commando who laid down his life fighting the terrorists in Mumbai in November 2008. A hush fell over the class. Sandeep Unnikrishnan had made up his mind when he was 8 in class 3 that he wanted to join the army. When he was older, he served 2 tenures with his battalion in counterinsurgency and counter-terrorism operations before becoming part of the NSG in January 2007. Major Sandeep was deployed on the 27th of November to clear Hotel Taj of terrorists. On entering the hotel with his team, he engaged a terrorist in a fierce gunfight. When one of his commandos was hit in the exchange of fire, he arranged for his evacuation, that is, for his removal. Even though he knew that his life was in danger, Major Unnikrishnan chased the terrorist. A courageous Sandeep told the rest of the team, "Don't come up, I will handle them." He followed the terrorist who had escaped to another floor of the hotel. The gunfight went on for some time and the major was hit by their bullets. In a last effort, he tried to save his soldier Gajendra Singh, but eventually succumbed to his injuries. Kabir paused. By now, every eye was focused on him. They wondered what would follow. Everyone had been allotted 3 minutes, and Kabir had only spoken for a minute yet. Outside, birds chirped, cars honked, and the younger children were enjoying their recess. However, class 8, oblivious to everything, was all ears as Kabir continued. When I grow up, I want to be like Vishnu Dataram Zende, who was an announcer with the Mumbai Railways for 10 years. On 26 November, he heard a loud explosion at one end of Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminus platform and saw that some people had blood stains on their clothes. He guessed that something was wrong and used the public announcement system to tell people to go out from a different exit. Instead of running for his life for almost half an hour, he continued to make announcement even though he knew that the terrorist would attack him. They fired a bullet into Vishnu Zende's cabin, but it missed him. When I grow up, I want to be like Karambir Singh Kang, the general manager of Taj Hotel, who instead of worrying about his own safety or his family's needs, first helped his guests and staff out of the hotel. His wife and children were trapped in a room engulfed by fire. They died of suffocation. Even on hearing of their deaths, Karambir Singh Kang did not abandon his responsibilities and continued to fight for his guests' safety. The noble and loyal manager, despite his own irreparable loss, still remains at the Taj, helping to restore the heritage structure. When Kabir looked up, he noticed that Swati's eyes were moist. He suppressed a sob and continued. When I grow up, I want to be fearless, like the anti-terrorism squad chief Hemant Karkare, who pursued the terrorist in a jeep. He was gunned down by terrorists near Kama Hospital, along with his valiant comrades DIG Ashok Kamte and Vijay Salaskar. Hemant Karkare was a brave officer who served in Austria for 7 years in the Research and Analysis Wing of India as an intelligence officer. Shahid Karkare spent his life fighting terror to make our tomorrow terror free. Kabir now had goosebumps on his arms, and Mrs. Barua was looking down. She did not want her students to notice the tears that had welled up in her eyes. Kabir went on. When I grow up, I want to be caring like Muhammad Tawfiq Sheikh, popularly known as Chotu Chaiwala, a young boy who ran a tea stall outside Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminus station. He was among the first to help transport the injured to St. George Hospital. Had it not been for the efforts of people like him, many of the wounded might not have made it to the hospital on time. When I grow up, I want to be selfless, like Sandra Samuel, the Indian nanny who saved the life of a 2-year-old Moshe Holzberg during the November 2008 Mumbai terror attacks. Sandra saved Moshe when Nariman house was attacked. Both of Moshe's parents were killed in the attack. When I grow up, I want to be like the caretaker of Qabristans in Mumbai, who refused to allow the dead terrorists to be buried there. They proved by their resolve that terrorism has no religion, and the only true religion in the world is love and respect for all human beings. As Kabir slowly ended, the class rose as one, applauding and cheering. Mrs. Barua dabbed a handkerchief to her eyes. She knew that all in front of her were children who would become the pillars that would uphold the virtue of peace, tolerance, and selflessness in an India that would one day be terror free and lead the world. I'm sure that you children also will be like Kabir, and you also will be peace loving, tolerant, and selfless, and take India to new heights.